Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Club Junkie podcast. Hopefully, having a good week. Another Thursday in the book, or is about to be in the books. Just starts up, and it's been a fast week. I can't believe how fast this week's gone by. I feel like I woke up, it was Monday, and now it's Thursday morning, and it's just flown by, which is crazy. So, I got President's Cup this weekend. Pretty excited for that. I know people are kind of on the fence about it, depending on who's playing and all that. But I got President's Cup. But before we get into today's episode, I want to let you know this episode brought to you by Team Titleist. And listen, we're excited to share with you guys exclusive opportunities from Titleist. But to be a part of them, you have to join Team Titleist. Team Titleist gives you access to opportunities like prototype testing, special events, limited edition gear from Titleist, and so much more. Sign up and join us on Team Titleist at www.titleist.com/Team Titleist. All one word, Team Titleist. So check that out. Get yourself some like prototype ball testing, all that. And if you want to test Pro V1s before they come out, and it's a pretty cool thing. So I am actually a member of Team Titleist. I don't know if there's like a number or anything, but I am a member, so you can join me on there. But excuse me. Anyway, hopefully again everybody's having a good week. Like I said, it's been kind of a wild one. It has gone by crazy fast, and I don't know where the time went. So I don't even know where the time went for this summer. I can't believe it's already like almost the end of September. It's just it's crazy to think about. I got like 9 days until my anniversary, which is like the 30th. It's just a crazy end of summer to fall. So hopefully wherever you are, you can still get some golf in. I know I'm still playing on Thursdays, and then also went to the range yesterday or Wednesday and hit some balls as well. I was really bummed. I have a buddy of mine in town from California, my buddy Austin. Unfortunately, him and I were supposed to play yesterday. And unfortunately, the poor boy came down with a little food poisoning from traveling and was unable to make it, so we weren't able to play. But I went to hit the range and had some fun anyway. Brought a bunch of clubs, and it was a good time. Not as good a time as I would have had playing with my boy Austin, but hopefully he feels better before he heads back to Carlsbad, and then hopefully I'll see him this fall when I'm hopefully out there doing some new product stuff, presentation stuff like that. So we'll see. But anyway, again, kind of a fast week. I did play some golf last weekend, and I played twice. I played Thursday in my league, and then I played Saturday morning with in a charity scramble we do every year. And then, like I said, I went to the range on Wednesday or yesterday, or today if you think about it, because I'm recording at night. But went to the range, so I've gotten some shots in, some swings in, and I'll continue getting swings in as long as I can, because as poorly as I played this year, I do have to say I'm still gonna miss when I can't golf. When I can't golf in say December, January, February, most of March, all that. I'm going to be pretty bummed that I can't play. So I'm going to try to get in as much golf as I can before that happens. But anyway, I have some interesting stuff. So played last Thursday. Got almost 18 holes in on the 18th hole. Hit a draw. It was getting dark, like really dark. Hit my tee shot right in the middle of the fairway, found it, walked up, hit like I think it was like a 7-iron. I laid back, I hit like a 4-iron off the tee just to make sure I could find the ball. Hit 4-iron off the tee, was in the middle of the fairway, hit like a 7-iron into the green, which normally I hit like a 9-iron. I usually hit like a hybrid or 7-wood or something off the tee. But anyway, hit 7-iron, and I never found the ball. So I thought I pulled it a little left. I looked around, couldn't find it. So that part of it, I didn't finish that hole, but I still played actually pretty darn well. I think if I gave myself bogey on the last hole, assuming I found my ball in the rough, got it onto the green and two putted, let's just assume that, I think I would have shot 76. So I played pretty well. I walked off. I mean, the front nine, I think, other than what was it? I think the third hole, I struggled. Other than that, I think I basically played the front nine pretty much like couple over, jumped in the back and played that other than I think the 10th hole, which I hit my drive out of bounds, made double, and then I think I made a bunch of pars, and I think I might even have made a birdie. I mean, I played the rest of it pretty well, so I think I would have shot like 76, 77, which is pretty nice. Beat my old boy Roger on the front nine. Then we have the back because I got to give him a couple strokes, a couple pops, so I gave him two aside. I beat him on the front. We tied the back, and that was it. So took a couple dollar bills, maybe a Lincoln off of him, and it was good night. And we had actually a decent amount of guys show up from the league. So the league's over, but we keep playing. At least I do. And we actually had 3 tee times, and we had almost 12 guys show up. So it was pretty cool to see people still wanting to play. But I played well there, and then I went and played in this scramble, this charity scramble for kind of a friend of a friend. My wife, it's kind of my wife's friends and all that over there. I've made friends with a lot of them, but they have a charity scramble every year for one of the gentlemen who had an accident and is now unfortunately paralyzed from the waist down. And we do a thing every year to raise money for him for just the stuff he needs that you don't even think about as a being in that situation. And the cool thing is he's one of those guys that just super positive, super outgoing, all that. So it's pretty fun to do. But anyway, we went and played there. It's like the 1 or 2, maybe 3 times a year my wife and I play together, and we actually have a good time doing it. So she, which she's listening right now because I can hear her up there, is actually a pretty decent golfer. If she would go out and practice a little bit and work on her game a little bit, she would actually probably be pretty good. So, but she hit some good shots this weekend, and it was pretty fun. We actually played really well. We shot 12 under. I think it was 12, 11 or 12. We shot 11 or 12 under. It was me, my buddy John, a friend of his, Al, and then my wife. So we had a decent team, and we shot like 12 under. I think we walked out the first hole. We played a par 5 in pure fog, like literally pea soup fog. Couldn't see. I think the group, because we were 4A or 4B, I think it was, and so there was a group in front of us. And there's like a pond kind of right in front of the tee box. There's a pond. And then there's like the forward tees for seniors and ladies. And I played the hole before. There's on the left-hand side, there's a bunch of OB. You basically put it in somebody's backyard. And on the right-hand side, it opens up a little bit, but then it kind of pinches down with some trees. And anyway, the fog was beyond the pond. You could see a good amount. And the group in front of us teed off, drove off. We never saw them again. In terms of like, you visually could not see them again. And then by the time we teed off, the fog had moved in, and you could like barely see across the pond. It was like, and that pond is like 70 yards in front of you. I mean, if that, it was wild. So played the first first probably almost 7 holes in the not quite, because we started on 4, and by 9 or by 8 it had cleared up. So we played the first like 4 holes in pure fog. And we shot 1200, but to be honest, there were 2 holes that you got basically if you joined up and did the kind of special things. They had kind of cool, interesting things. One of them was on one of the par 5s. They had an air cannon that shot a ball like 400 yards. So on this par 5, it would shoot it like basically, you'd be 100 yards out, if that. But what they did was they set up a big roped out box in the fairway that was almost the whole fairway. And if you landed balls in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, they had markers off the green and then on the green. So depending on how many you got in, you could move up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and the 4th space was basically a 20-foot putt. So you can make a 24 putt for a 2 on that hole. It was actually kind of cool. You got to shoot your own ball. And the funny thing is, like the guy who was running it had to basically aim us blindly because we were shooting into fog and you couldn't see anything. We ended up getting a couple balls in the square, so we actually got the closest marker on the green. So we basically made an eagle there where, I don't know if we would have made an eagle. We missed the 20-footer. We had 2 putts that, like, I don't know how they didn't go in. But we missed that putt going in there. So, we got a free eagle there. And I think the winning score was like 16 under. But you think about it, if those guys got to putt there and they made that putt, that's that's an albatross. And then on one of the par 3s, if you paid, it was a Beat the Pro. They had this woman who was I don't remember what tour she was on. It wasn't Symetra. It was something else. It was like a developmental tour. And she was on there. And they had a similar thing last year where you basically, if you could pay money, and if you paid, you would go into a raffle to win like some Bluetooth speakers for your golf cart or whatever, which I won last year. This year, though, they had 2 levels. You could pay more money and get like a 0 or something like that on the card, or you could pay the lower amount, get a hole in one, and then if you beat her in terms of beat the pro, you would go into the raffle for these Bluetooth speakers. So we got like a 1 there. We didn't spend the big money. We spent the middle amount of money, but so we got a 1 there. We got an eagle on 1 that was like whatever. So I mean, there was a couple holes where 12 under wasn't exactly what we got, but and then there were some holes where you could win like mulligans if you played the games, and so you got mulligans there, so you'd made some birdies. But I mean, we still played well. But it was a good time. We had a perfect day other than the 4 holes of fog. We walked out the first hole and birdied it. We hit a drive right down the middle, hit a 3-wood to basically just the front of the green, and then chipped it on, made the putt, and made birdie on the first hole. So it was pretty cool. But the interesting story about this whole thing was that they had a long drive and they had it closer to the pin hole, and which most places do, and they have little prizes for that. And the long drive one, a buddy of ours actually won it, which was pretty cool. A guy in our group would have beat the person at the time, but he just rolled off the fairway because the whole fairway slopes to the left. He hits a draw, it hit, ran, and ran into the rough. So he would have won that, but unfortunately didn't. But the interesting thing is, so on what ended up being our last hole was hole 3, which is a par 3, and I can't remember what the yardage was. It was like 167, something like that, 167, 166. I don't know. It was it was just under 170. So lasered it, and all right, so we walked off, and first guy hit, second guy hit, and then I walked up and I hit a shot that just right of the flag, rolled. I mean, it rolled right towards the flag and like stopped. So I mean, from our vantage point, we were like, gosh, this thing looks like it's. I mean, we thought it was going in the hole, and so as my wife's going up to hit, we drive up to her tee. The 2 guys in my group drive up to go see where the ball is, the other 2 guys, and my wife hits her shot, and then we drive up, and I am 18 inches from the hole, if that. I mean, it was like a foot. It may have been a foot. And from where the ball mark hit and where the ball ended up behind the hole, the ball had to go within 2 inches of the cup, depending on which line it was on. So it was right there, but it was a great shot. And I felt bad because the closest to the pin marker was right behind my ball. It was like 3 or 4 inches. I was 3 or 4 inches closer, and I felt bad. I looked on the card. I didn't recognize the name on there, and I was like, man, I feel bad for Dave, And I put my name on there, and we brought it in, and I mean, the guy Dave hit a great shot in there, so I mean, I felt pretty bad for him, but anyway, we won it. So we went in, and they always have these like lunches and dinners or whatever for you. So we went in, we got food and everything. We're hanging out, and we're sitting there with some people and chatting, and I knew a couple of people at the table, but not everybody. And but we were talking and all that and hanging out, and they started to announce some of the prizes and stuff, because there's also raffle things you can do and all. I mean, there's a million prizes you could win. So we went in there, and I think I told my wife as we were driving, I was like, man, I feel so bad for the Dave guy. He probably thought it had it won. I mean, who else was going to get that close? And so we went, unloaded our stuff, eating, and we're sitting there hanging out and talking to some people, and then they go to announce the things, and they announce, longest drive. It's our buddy Matt, and he walks up, gets his little trophy, and then they say, closest to the pin, and they say my name, so I get up, and I walk over, and they give the trophy. And I sit back down, and the guy was like, "Are you kidding me?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "How did you beat my shot?" So I was sitting across the table from this guy Dave, and had no clue who he was, never met him before. But I was sitting across from Dave, and Dave was waiting to think that he won his closest to the pin trophy, and nobody was going to get inside of him. And we actually showed him the photo, unfortunately. Not that it helped the situation a whole lot, but I felt kind of bad that. And then I was sitting across from the guy for like an hour, eating and hanging out and whatever, talking, and never knew that that was him. So felt bad, but hey, I wish I had my trophy here. I could be setting it on the desk here, for people watching on YouTube. I left it upstairs. So it is in my my bedroom at the moment, which I think it will come down here and join some of my other memorabilia here. But because I never win those things. I mean, let's be honest. I've hit some great shots on par 3s and stuff, but never during a scramble or anything like that. But yeah, it was a good time, and I think we'd raised some money for the cause, and it was fun. But yeah, I felt bad for old Dave, who ended up, like I said, sitting across from me on the table, and I never even knew it. And He was, I mean, he was okay with it, but he was shocked that that somebody beat a shot, and I would have been too. I mean, it was pretty darn close. So that was a good time. It was fun. And then, like I said, today or yesterday, Wednesday, went to the range, had a handful of clubs to bring, and I know I'm kind of narrowing down. I think at the end of the year, every year, I do kind of my what's in the bag. And when I was doing my Q&A session on Instagram on Wednesday, and if you don't follow me on Instagram, please do at Club Junkie Pod. It's ClubJunkiePod. Club Junkie Pod. Every Wednesday, at least, or at least one day a week, I try to do a little Q&A where you can ask questions about whatever you want, golf equipment, anything golf. And I get a lot of questions about people asking, shafts that compare to another shaft or whatever, and it's a whole lot of fun. And did it today, and then in the middle of it, took my break, ran out. But one of the questions was like, what's in the bag right now? And I basically said I'm going to do that later because I'm really narrowing a few things down, and I think I've got a bag pretty much nailed down that, if I was forced to play 14 clubs for an extended period of time, I would play these 14. So I'm getting close. So we'll see what that is shortly. Maybe I'll do it next week. We'll see. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, but I'll do it shortly. I'm getting really close, and I just have actually a couple things to hit that just showed up that could potentially have a chance. But went into the range today. Had a bunch, took out a bunch of stuff to hit. As usual, I usually have 3 or 4 drivers, a couple shafts, all that in the bag. So I set up a couple of drivers, brought a handful of clubs, a couple different wedges, just all sorts of stuff, and really just wanted to hit balls and wanted to really kind of work on the swing a little bit and try to stop this big, over the top type thing I'm doing. So went there with really that was the sole purpose, and then the other purpose was to, of course, hit balls or hit a bunch of different clubs. And then I brought the full swing kit with me because if you have access to a launch monitor, why wouldn't you bring it with you? So I brought that. And then when I brought it, I was like, it's pretty interesting. I should do a little comparison between 3 irons that are pretty similar that I have in my possession, and do a little, kind of shoot out and compare them and see what they're like, because I know a lot of people have asked about a couple of them. So I made sure to have 7 irons for the PXG, the Gen 5 0311Ts, which I've been playing a good amount of lately, my TaylorMade P770s, and then the new Takomo 101Ts, Iron 101Ts. So I know a lot of people, especially in the forums, have been talking about the Takomos and some of the other direct-to-consumer brand stuff. So I figured, let's bring them all out. I've hit all 3. I've played all 3 on the course. They all seem to perform really well. I'm like, let's see, what they're, how different they are in terms of a launch monitor. So I took them to the range, and I was hitting. I mean, to be fair, I'm gonna read you some of the numbers in terms of comparing them all. But remember, I was hitting range balls, and they're actually at the range I go to when I do go, which is very rare. The Gratiot Golf Center, formerly J-Wires, over in I think it's East Point or something. Or not East Point. I think it's Roseville. I think in Michigan, but It's an interesting range. It's not the highest quality, most perfect range, but it gets the job done. And their balls actually were decent. They were Wilson. They were a little bit of mix of I think Wilson and Callaway or something like that, but mostly Wilson range balls. And they were actually in pretty good shape. There weren't too many that didn't have dimples on them. So that is usually the case there, especially late in the year. You'll see a lot of golf balls that have hit the nets and have been shaved down and don't have many dimples left. But majority of them did. I was pretty shocked. There were a lot of them too that looked like brand new, which was pretty cool. So most of my bucket was newer balls, which is pretty awesome. But I was hitting range balls. I was hitting off a mat, and so to say that these numbers are 1,000% accurate in terms of hitting a Pro V1 off grass and all that, they're not. But hey, they're apples to apples because all 3 irons were out there. Now, they all don't have the same shafts either, but the interesting thing is that they're all pretty much the same spec. I looked at all the specs, and I think the TaylorMade is the weakest at 33 degrees. The other 2 are 32. So pretty much the exact same specs in terms of loft. They're pretty darn close. And when you set them down, they all look pretty much the same. I mean, when you set them down, they're all kind of that player's distance iron. So the Gen 5 Ts, which are, and all 3 are basically hollow-bodied irons. So the PXG and the TaylorMade are both full of foam. TaylorMade has speed foam, and I want to say it's like called Core 2 or something like that for PXG, TaylorMade Speed Foam, and then Takomo doesn't really say. They just say they're a hollow body iron. So I don't know if they're just strictly hollow, if there is something in there. They don't specifically say. So, but when you set them down, they're all pretty much similar shapes. Sole widths are pretty darn close. They're all really similar irons for a player looking that slightly better player who wants a little distance, wants a little forgiveness, doesn't want a big old shovel, huge club, anything like that. Wants something a little more compact, a little thinner top line, less offset. These three, offer all that. And now, while they are at three totally different price points, the Takomo I think is like, I think P770s are 1,400 if you're doing eight irons. Takomo is 600 or 590, and then the Gen 5 T's I think are for 8 clubs is going to be 1,600. So they're at significantly different price points, but depending on what you want, what you could fit into, and all that, they all serve their purpose. So, like I said, kind of hit all three, took them out, and then put them into the launch monitor and hit basically 6 balls with each one. Took out a couple outliers for each one that I either hit fat or something like that. So they're kind of the 6 best that I took. And like I said, hitting range balls, all that, so they're a little lower spin than I think you'd typically get with a tour ball or whatever. But again, apples to apples, they were all hitting the same balls out there. But all 3 irons are really good. Like I looked at them. They also don't have this. All 3 don't have the same shafts either. So the PXG has Elevate 95s. The TaylorMade has the new KBS Tour Light in an X Flex, and then the Takomos have the Tour Light in stiff. So 3 slightly different shafts, but they're all a little higher launching. They're also mid-high flight, so none of them are crazy low spin or anything like that. So they're in the same ballpark in terms of the 3 shafts, all pretty much the same length. And like I said, the TaylorMade, the Takomo and PXG are 32 degrees, and the TaylorMade, the P770s, are 33. So all pretty similar. They're all stock lofts, all that. So I didn't mess with anything there. And took them out and hit them against each other, and was just kind of hitting balls. And I'd hit 6, or I'd hit a couple with one, and then switch it out. And I didn't do just all 6 with one and move on. I mixed it up a little bit, but I wasn't doing it like true scientific method, like hit 2 with the next one, hit 2 with the next one, whatever. Like, I'm not doing this as crazy, stupid, scientific. Put them on robots. It was just something that, I had all 3. I figured why not kind of put them together and see how they perform. So I might have done 4 shots with one, and then, hit 2 or 3 balls with the other, and then whatever. I mixed it up a little bit, but it wasn't truly scientific. And then if I hit one fat, I'd put another ball, hit it. So, like I said, it wasn't all 6 in a row. It wasn't spread out perfectly even. They were all done slightly differently, but 6 shots pretty much each. Like I said, took out a couple really crappy outliers and called it a day. So the interesting thing is, distance-wise, they're pretty much all identical. They're all within 1 yard of each other, basically. So the longest for me was the Gen 5, the PXGs, at 162 yards at carry. Now, this is carry yards, not total distance, and these are 7 irons. I don't hit a crazy long ball. So 162 carry for the 7-iron of the PXG, 161 for the TaylorMade, and the Takomo was 160. So, within 1 yard, if you handed me any 3 of these, they go the same distance. I'm not changing clubs on a on a distance of of 2 yards total distance between the 3. They all go the same distance for the most part. On the course, if you said, if you were to ask me, hey, which one goes farther, I would not be able to tell you, because 2 yards is, at my level, indistinguishable out there. And I think I'm a 9.7 now or something like that, but indistinguishable between distance. But on the launch monitor, those are the averages: 162, 161, and 160. So Takomo is the shortest, PXG the longest, TaylorMade right in the middle in terms of distance for these 3. And honestly, hitting shots, they were all pretty easy to hit. They all were pretty simple. They all feel pretty darn good. In terms of feel, they're all pretty soft. It was, a pretty darn close shootout here between all 3. So, and then you get into spin, which is the one that I thought was going to be pretty interesting, because I figured My guess was that the P770 was going to spin the least, or the Takomo, and then the PXG would be the highest. Actually came out exactly the opposite. So the PXG was the lowest spinning at on an average 6,118 RPMs of spin for a 7-iron, and then the Takomo came in second at 6,374, and the TaylorMade P770 at 6,531. So in terms of the three, the TaylorMade for me was the spinniest. I was kind of shocked at that. I always thought the P770 was a little lower spinning iron than some of the others, but for me, it actually spun the most, which was pretty interesting. I was kind of shocked too that the PXG spun the least. I thought for whatever reason it would spin a little bit more. And I didn't think, like I said, I thought the Takomo or the TaylorMade would be definitely the lowest spinning of the bunch, and it wasn't. Out of all those, though, I mean, nothing really ballooned. Everything was kind of moving left, though. I mean, the wind was blowing from right to left on the range. I tend to hit the ball with a little bit of a draw anyway, so everything was kind of, draw movement. Everything kind of moved from target to left of target out there. Nothing went pretty much right at target ever. So, but spin wise, like I said, those there, the PXG was the lowest, followed by the Takomo, and then the TaylorMade. So, like I said, a little interesting that the PXG was the lowest spinning there. I was kind of shocked at that, and I feel like that spin number's a hair low. I feel like if you were hitting like a Pro V1 or TP5 or some type of tour ball, I'm figuring that number would probably be in the 7,000 range, right about that. But for these here, I mean, they are range balls. They're 2-piece or single piece or whatever they are. So they definitely spin a little less than I think everything else out there. And then another one, interesting one, is ball speed. So ball speed coming off here. The fastest was actually the Takomo. It was 117.8 was the ball speed there. And that was, again, average, with the PXG right behind it at 117.3, and then the TaylorMade at 115.8. So 2 miles an hour difference. Again, I mean, we're talking 2 yards, we're talking 2 miles an hour total between the best and the worst, and we're talking about a 1 mile an hour difference basically between second and third and whatever. But yeah, really good ball speed. I mean, and that's across the face too, because I mean, I wasn't hitting it dead center every time. Not even close. I mean, I wish I was, but wasn't in a dead center all the time. So they moved around a little. I was actually hitting it pretty good. I was swinging pretty decent on the range, so I wasn't hitting it too bad. I wasn't hitting it everywhere in the face, but I was a little low, a little low on the face on some of my misses, and then a little towards the toe as well. But for the most part, I was hitting it fairly solid. And the smash factor kind of shows a little bit of that. The highest is actually, again, the Takomo. 140 was the smash factor, which was really crazy high. And then followed by the PXG at 137, and then the TaylorMade at 135. So again, really, really close between these three. Again, spin rate's a little different, and that's, and some of these numbers, I mean, are pretty minimal. And I think if I went out there tomorrow or today or whatever and hit all three again, I could see exact opposite, numbers of what we're seeing here. But anyway, again, it was more fun to go compare the two. And then in terms of launch, the highest launching was honestly the P770, which I was kind of shocked. I thought with the extra stiff shaft that would kind of launch a little lower, be a little flatter. It got straight in the air, and it launched at 20 degrees, and then had the highest apex as well at 81 feet for me. So definitely got up in the air quick. Was easy to launch, and yeah, it noticeably was higher than the other two when I was hitting it. So it was pretty interesting to see how much higher that ball with the 770s went. And then between the next two, I mean, between the PXG and the Takomo, it was 0.2 difference in terms of launch angle. The PXG was at 16.3 and the Takomo 16.1. So the Takomo launched the flattest out of the three. And the same thing with the Apex, PXG Apex 75.5 and the Takomo's 73.5. So, we're talking 7.5 yards or 7.5 feet difference between the lowest and the highest Apex. It's not a crazy number, but the Tacomos did fly a little flatter. And yeah, I was kind of shocked to see the P770s fly so much higher than the others. So it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, out of the three, I mean, in terms of feel, they all feel really good. I felt like the PXGs probably felt the most solid and probably the softest out of the three. it was close, but those were probably the softest and the most solid feeling, at least to me. And the second, probably the second softest, I would probably give it slight. Man, it's close. I would give it a slight edge to P770. When you hit them flush, the 770 is probably just a hair more solid feeling than the Takomo. The Takomo, I'll give it third, but I mean honestly, it was pretty darn close. I mean, it was really, it was almost just as soft as everything else. I will say on mishits, the Takomo maybe has a slightly more harsh feel than the P770. I feel like the P770 with that foam filling may give it a slightly more solid feel, and those mishits don't quite vibrate or have as much harsh feeling as they do on the Takomo. And like I said, those low toe shots probably gave it the slight third place finish there. But then in terms of looks, all three are really good. I mean, again, I love the look of the PXG and the P770. I think the Takomo looks really good. Takomo, you see visually what looks to be a little more offset than the other two, and I think it's really more the transition from hosel into leading edge. There might be a hair more offset there. I know I think if you look on their website and you look at the measurements, it's pretty darn close, but I would say the Takomo's got a little more offset than the other two. I love the blade length of the P770, but and then it came to dispersion. I mean, between hitting the three, it was so close. I mean, I would almost give the edge of dispersion to probably the Takomo. I think I hit that one the straightest out of all of them, but I think it flew the lowest, and like I said, the way the wind was going, the 770s probably moved the most, followed by the PXG, and then the Takomo. And I think really a lot of that had to do with how high were you hitting it, and the higher you hit it, like the P770, the more movement from right to left that you saw. I think with no wind, it would be really, really close. It would be interesting to see with no wind, where these three came out, because I think it would be really, really close. So it was interesting. It was fun to go out there and hit a few balls. That full swing seemed to work really well again. I know Tursky and I did that video on it, and we're kind of raving about it, and everybody kind of thought, it's a full swing video, but the thing actually works really well. I mean, I set it up, right away, set it up, boom. I never had a shot that it missed. The only shots it would miss were I was hitting, when you set it up, you set a target downrange. I was hitting balls, wedges, like 60-degree and 54-degree wedges to this green on the far left. So I was moving the ball almost out of the target zone to the front of the mat, the front corner of the mat, and then hitting it back to the left. And it was not picking those up very well, but again, it was so far out of where that ball should have been lined up, everything that's not the machine's fault at all. So, but overall, like I said, with these three irons, it was kind of fun to kind of hit all three. And like I said, dispersion-wise, I'm going to give the slight edge to Takomo, followed by PXG, and then the P770. And again, I think all that comes down to the wind today that was blowing across. And P770 just probably landed furthest left out of the three because it was in the air the longest. It was up the highest, and it just got pushed the furthest by the wind. And it was blowing pretty decent today. We had some rain stuff this morning. We got this cold front blowing through tonight, so it went from it was 85 or 87 degrees when I was hitting balls today at 3 o'clock to it's supposed to drop down to 55 degrees by 7 a.m. tonight or Thursday morning. So huge fluctuation in temperature. Golf tonight is going to be. It potentially could be pants and a vest. We'll see. I don't know. But it was a fun little shootout for these. It would be interesting to do one with three of the same shafts. It's just a lot of work to do that, so I don't feel like going through and trying to get the same shafts from somebody and get them all installed, and then you got a random 7-iron with different shafts in the rest of the sets and all that. So we'll just leave it at that, the way it was, and like I said, that plays a little factor in it in terms of the shafts being slightly different. But they're all, like I said, in the same ballpark in terms of, mid-high to higher launching shafts, and they're not the lowest spinning ones. So it was pretty interesting. And then, unfortunately, I don't get much into turf interaction on the range because, there just is there's no turf interaction off a mat, other than the fact that you can hit one fat and still get it out there pretty good. But it was fun hitting the three, and it goes to show you that no matter what your budget is, you can go out there and find a good a good set of golf irons for a player who, for whatever your needs are. Whether you're a skilled kind of blade type player, whether you're, a high handicap needing help, or you're that guy who is a single digit and needs a little distance, a little bit of help, but wants to, look like a player out there. There's something for everybody and at every price point. So all three of these, like I said, were really fun to hit. I was kind of impressed with all of them. I've been a big fan. I think my what's in the bag will probably include one of these. It's between these three, I've been playing a lot of one of them a lot. So, but it's been all good. So it was like I said, a fun day putting these three things out there, and then hitting drivers. I was kind of mixing a few things up. I had the TSR2 with the Ventus Ventus TR Red out there, and I was hitting that really well. Once I got the swing a little bit grooved, where I was hitting the ball solid, that thing was going really, really good. I had my boy Johnny Wonder hooked me up with a Rogue ST Max LS T-head, which I didn't even know existed. But he's, as you saw, the 3-wood that my boy got me. He also got me a driver head as well, and I was hitting that with actually the Kylie black from Mitsubishi, or the Kylie White 60 X in there, and hitting that thing, and that thing was a cannon as well. It probably was coming out a little low. I probably would have had to add a little loft to the head, but hitting that thing really good too. But just hitting drivers pretty solid, out there. And then I had a Stealth with that stability shaft from Breakthrough Golf BGT, that super lightweight one and all that. That combo didn't quite work for me in that head. That shaft has actually worked for me in the Callaway head. It's worked for me in another head as well, but that shaft just didn't work for me in the Stealth head, which is fine. Like I said, it's worked for me in other ones, so not a big deal. But hit a lot of stuff out there, and it was a good day. It was a good day on the range, and I think figured a few things out. So hopefully play a little better tonight. Hopefully get out there and get as many holes as I can in. I don't know if we'll get all 18, but I'm going to try like heck to get close to that. So anyway, that is my little 7-iron shootout there for some players' distance irons. If you have any questions, any comments, anything like that, hit me up at Club Junkie Pod on Instagram. Is the best way to get a hold of me. And then, please, if you get a chance, like, subscribe, all that to wherever you listen to this show, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. If you watch it on YouTube, whatever. If you look on YouTube, search Golf WRX Radio. It'll come up there. But if you check any of this stuff out, please subscribe, like, comment, whatever. It all helps those algorithms to help us do better. And, if when I do better, the more stuff, the bigger I grow my audience, the more stuff people will send me to test. So you guys are a huge part of that. And also thank you all for listening and following along and everything, man. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I mean, I know a lot of people reach out on Instagram and DM me about stuff, and how they follow along and enjoy stuff. And honestly, it's humbling to hear that, and to hear people want to listen to this idiot talk about golf clubs for 30, 45 minutes, whatever, is pretty crazy. So I truly appreciate everybody out there, taking your time and all that to listen to me and interact with questions, whatever. I truly do appreciate it. So, again, hopefully you guys have a great rest of the week. Have a good weekend. Play some golf, and we'll talk next week. I think I've got, let's see, what is the day here? I think I'll have something new to talk about next week, so I'm excited for that. But anyway, you guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week.